This is a tutorial on how you can download Mixamo characters and Mixamo animations and bring them into TaleSpire. This tutorial is specifically for Mixamo characters and animations, but a similar process can be used for characters and animations from different sources. In order to complete this tutorial, you will need a Mixamo account. You can make one for free, and you will need Blender and Unity. Obviously, you'll also need TaleSpire in the end. If you have those tools, we should be able to accomplish this task. And I'm going to go through this step by step. So even if you are not familiar with the process, you should be able to complete it. So we start by going to the Mixamo website. It's www.mixamo.com. And that will probably take you to a sign-in page or a sign-up page. As I said, you will need to register for a free account, but the account is free, or at least this portion that we're going to use is available for free once you have registered an account. So we're going to start by going to the Characters tab, and here we get a list of various Mixamo characters which have been rigged with the Mixamo skeleton so that the animations can be applied. As you can see, there's about 3 pages of these characters, and you can select any one. The same process applies to any of these characters. So I will take Arissa here, use that character. So when we select a character, we get the T-pose. Most likely in TaleSpire, you're not going to want the T-pose. You're going to want something else. But I like to include the T-pose just for, just for reference. So I'm going to now download the character with the T-pose. Okay, and now we're going to select some animations for the character. So I'm thinking of sort of a ready idle stance. Oh, sorry. We need to go to animations, and then we can do searches. I will try searching for... Oh, sorry. Already done here. So here are some kind of idle ready stances. So maybe something like this. Like that. Yeah, maybe something like this. So now I'm going to download this. You want to download it with skin and no keyframe reduction. It's possible that it will work with other options here, but these are the options that I've used and they seem to work, so that's what I'm going with. So again, I'm going to download that. And then maybe some kind of a attack. Yeah, kick like that maybe. So again, download, same settings. And probably going to want some kind of like a maybe a magic casting. So casting a spell maybe here. Yeah, sure. And lastly, we'll probably select a death. Now, ideally with the death, what you want to do is try to find one that is going to keep the character in the same location. A lot of the death scenes, for example, kind of have the character falling back. and that will mean that the body will end up away from the base. So let's have a look at maybe this one. It's kind of falling to the side, but it's relatively near the base. What about this guy? Yeah. So here we can see that the animation basically ends up in the same spot as the character started. So that's going to be an ideal animation. I'll download that. Okay, so the next step that we want to do is we want to prepare these animations in Blender so that we have an easier time to apply them in Unity. So next step, open up Blender. Okay, so with Blender loaded, we are going to delete the starting cube, and then we're going to import our base character. This would be the T-pose character that we saved earlier. Okay, so with the T-pose character loaded, we can turn on materials to see that the textures have loaded. And now we're going to go into our scene and get rid of the camera and the lights so that all we have is our one asset that we're looking for. So now that we have only the asset in our scene, we can see that the asset downloaded with like 2 keyframes here for the T-pose. That's good. Now we're going to add the other animations. So we're going to do that by File, Import. We're going to choose one of the downloaded animations. Okay, now that's going to show up as a second character here. That's not a problem. We're going to select that second character, and we can see that there's the animation. It's nicely even selected for us, so all we have to do is copy, then select our original asset. Now I'm going to go to, let's say, keyframe 10. I like to put a little bit of spaces between the various animations. It just makes it a little easier in Unity if you didn't write down the starting and ending frames to find it. So I'm going to start here at frame 10, and I'm going to paste. So now we have added that animation to our asset. We're going to delete the secondary one. And now we can see there's our T-pose. There's a little bit of transition. And then here is that ready stance. So we're just going to repeat that process. I'm going to go, let's say, to maybe 80 here. File, Import, FBX. We had a attack of some sort. Standing kick, yes, that's what it was. And the same thing happens. We've got the secondary asset here. We're just going to copy that. Click on our original. Paste. Get rid of the secondary. That. And now we have our asset with T-pose, idle stance, and then our attack here. I'll go to about 130 here. Import FBX. We had the casting of spell. And same thing, we're going to copy that. Click on our asset. I'll go put it at 130 here, paste. Get rid of that, get rid of that. And now we have casting of a spell. Okay. We've exceeded our animation here is up to 250. We're already at 360, so I'm just going to open this up to 500 for now so that we can see that. Yep, that looks good. And at 370, we're going to put in our die. animation. Next, import. Okay. Copy our asset 370. Paste. Delete the other asset. And click on ours, and now we should be able to see it runs to about 355 or so, 356 maybe. So, oh, I mean 456, 456. Okay. Nice. Okay, so we have now set up our asset with the animations that we're interested in. So now we're going to go and file, export FBX. And we want to make sure that baked animations is selected. And now we're going to export it so that we can bring it into Unity. Okay, so that was the step 2, which is preparing the asset in Blender. And now we can go to Unity and bring it in there, make an asset bundle, and use it in TaleSpire. Okay, so in Unity, I have loaded the sort of the default project that I've got set up for creating TaleSpire content. I made it available on the TaleSpire Discord server, and there's different variations of it provided by other people. So in here we have under assets, we have assets, board assets, characters. In this case, I'm making a content named Arissa, so I've named it accordingly, and then a content folder. This basically mimics the structure in TaleSpire assets. I don't think it's actually necessary to follow this hierarchy, but just in case, that's what I do. If you're going to be using the custom mini plugin to bring these assets into TaleSpire, you want to make sure that the content is named after the same content and name is for the file, the asset bundle, and the content. So in this case, that's going to be Arissa. So I've got some subfolders here of materials, textures, and meshes. We're not really using resources. That's if you're trying to add sound. So I'm going to go under meshes, and I'm going to import my Blender asset. Okay, so now our asset has imported in. We're going to click on that, and we're going to change a few settings. So under the model, we want to select read, write, enable, and we want to change the blend shape normals to import, and we're going to apply that. Again, some of these changes may not be necessary, but this is what has worked for me, so that's what I'm showing here. Okay, now we're going to go to Rig, and we want to select Legacy, Apply. Next, we're going to go under Animation tab, and this is where we're going to add our animation clips. It looks like it's picked up a whole bunch of default clips from our assets, so we're going to try to get rid of those. Okay, so now that we've got them all erased, we can define our animations. So I like to add in an animation or a pose for the T-pose. So I'm going to name it T-pose. And then I'm going to say that starts on 1 and or it starts at 0, ends on 1. And that basically gives our T-pose. And we can say clamp forever. What clamp forever does is it runs through the animation once and then keeps the asset at the last frame of the animation. And so that'll basically sort of turn it into a pose. I'm going to apply that. So next we're going to add another one. And now we're going to do our idle stance or our ready stance or whatever you want to call it. So I will call it here anim1. I could call it idle. If I do, then the custom mini plugin can access that animation through the play animation option. But if you call your animations anim1, anim2, anim3, anim4, and anim5, you can use the custom mini plugin hotkeys to access those animations much quicker. So that's what I'm going to do here. That our idle started at here. Some assets will have just a few entries here. Some of them will have lots of assets, as you can see here. What you want to do is find the Mixamo.com animation with kind of the lowest, like armature here doesn't have 0.001. Layer doesn't have 0.001, so this is kind of the base that includes the whole range of keyframes. So we started at 10, and I don't remember where it ended. I think it was 120. So I'm going to try that. You can play your animation down here. No. So it looks like we've already got part of the kick there. So it was 70. Yeah, that looks about right. Maybe 80. Let me just check 80. No, we can see that there's the beginning of the next animation already there. So 70 was probably right. When you were in Blender and you were creating these animations, obviously if you jot down the frames that the animation is actually used, it's much easier to provide this information here. Okay, so my ready stance, what I want to do is I want to also use clamp forever. That means it will run through that kind of ready stance animation and then keep the asset in kind of the ready position. You could do a continuous loop, but it is not recommended because continuous animation does take more CPU and it can make TaleSpire less responsive on computers that don't have a high processing power. So I'm just going to clamp it forever, apply. And I'm going to continue the process now. Oh, looks like I didn't rename here. So anim1. apply. Yeah, make sure you press enter when you're putting in new names here, or otherwise it won't be applied. So I'm going to continue the process now. I'm going to make an animation, again using the full range. I'm going to call it anim2. And this one, I think, starts at 80 and goes to, I've got no idea, so let's try 200. No, we can see that we're already starting to cast there. So it was less than that, about 150. We're just getting the beginnings of the casting animation, so probably 130. It looks like still a little bit of the casting animation there, so 120. Yeah, that looks about right. Anim2, apply. And we're going to continue the process. Anim3 was our casting. Casting is probably maybe just go once. We don't really want the pose to remain in the casting pose, so we're just going to do it once, and it's going to default back to the default. And anim3, I think we were at 130, 200. Okay, definitely much longer. That looks pretty good. Let me just try it a little bit longer. Yeah, that looks about right. Anim3, play it once, apply. And lastly, we're going to do our die sequence. So again, anim4. We want to clamp it because when we fall to the ground, we want to stay on the ground. And we were at 30, 50. Let's try that. No, looks like we had still a little bit of the casting there. 40. Nope. 350. Trying to find that start. That looks about right. Which means our previous animation probably should have gone a little bit longer. We can fix that up. So, apply. So we'll just correct the previous animation. That one should have probably gone to about 350. Apply. Okay, so we've got our animation set up. Now we're going to go to the Materials tab, and we're going to extract materials here. I'm going to move to my materials folder. And now we should see that in our materials, we now have a material. In some cases, you're going to be able to then go back to here and extract textures. In this particular case, it looks like that the asset does not allow me to do that, so I'm going to have to get those textures individually. We can get those textures from Blender, so back to Blender for a moment. So back in Blender, we delete the default cube again, import our T-pose asset. Then we can verify that that the asset does have textures by showing the material. Yes, it does. Excellent. Now we can go to UV editing, and right here in this pane, we can pull down the different files that are associated with this asset. So looks like here we've got the diffuse. So I am going to go to image, save as, and save that. Then it looks like we've got a normals file here. Image, save as. And maybe a specular or something like that. Or metallic. I think that might be metallic. Okay, now that we've got our texture file saved, we can go back to Unity. So back in Unity, we can go to our materials folder, select the material that was exported off of the asset. We can see that no textures have been set. Then we can click our textures folder, and in here, oh, forgot to import them. So let's just import those. Okay, so one more time, go back to the materials, select the material, go to your textures folder so that the material stays selected, and then we can apply the diffuse. That's the normal. And I'm not quite sure where to apply this one. I'm going to guess right there. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, so now we have the asset ready. We take it from the meshes folder and bring it up into our scene. Okay, so now there it is in our scene. We can see here that our animation is now attached. I am going to rename this. Basically, anywhere I can, I am going to just rename it to using the content name that I want to pull it up with in custom mini plugin. So Arista. And now I've found that with Mixamo characters, they're a little big compared to TaleSpire characters. So I found that a scaling of about 75% seems to work pretty good. I've tried this with one character. I think that Mixamo scales are probably going to be the same across the board. So I think that should work for all of them, but I haven't tried all Mixamo characters, so you'll have to give that a try. Now here we can also decide what is going to be our default pose or animation. With these asset bundles, everything is an animation. If you're making a pose, you basically make like a 1 key or 2 key animation that doesn't change, and that will basically turn it into a pose if you use the clamp forever. So in TaleSpire, we probably do not want the T-pose. Again, I like to include it for reference, but that's probably not what we want as our default. What we probably want as our default is our kind of ready stance, which was animation 1. So I'm going to select animation 1. And if you select the play automatically, it will run through animation 1. And because at the end of because we defined animation 1 as clamp forever, at the end of that ready stance animation, the character will kind of remain in that ready stance. So that looks pretty good. So the last thing we need to do is go back to our content directory. We're going to take the Arissa in our scene, pull it back down into the content folder. This is going to ask if you want to make a original prefab. Select the original prefab. Okay. Again, important that the name here matches the asset bundle, matches the folder structure. That's important for the custom mini plugin. It's not necessary to use your asset bundle anywhere else, but for custom mini plugin, all those have to be the same. So now we have our prefab, and the last thing we need to do is mark all of these for an asset bundle. So we're going to go down to here where it says asset bundle, and we're going to create new. And sometimes you just can't type here. I found it if you resize and try it again, there. So again, I'm making the asset bundle the same name as my prefab so that the custom mini plugin will be happy with that. So we've marked that for being included in the asset bundle. I typically include the textures, meshes, and materials in the asset bundle also. I am not sure if that's necessary, but like I said, including it does seem to work. And then we are going to build asset bundles. If you do not have this option in your menu to build asset bundles, there is a file that you need to place into the asset bundles editors folder, and that's a little script that will provide this option for you. You should be able to find it by doing a quick Google search, Unity asset bundle building script or something like that. Okay, so once we do that, it's going to build that, and if we get no errors, then we should have now an asset bundle that is available to use with TaleSpire. If we go into our assets bundles folder, oh, it's still thinking about it. Okay, in some cases with normals, you will get a warning that tells you that that the normals need to be fixed. Just click Fix Now. And like I said, then you can go to your asset bundles folder, show an Explorer, and you will have your asset bundles built. I've built a whole bunch of other stuff here, but there it is. Asset bundles, the one that is needed is not the manifest. All you need is the file that is named after your asset bundle and has no extension. For use with TaleSpire custom mini plugin, you're going to want to put this into the TaleSpire _, custom data folder. Within that, there should be a subfolder of minis, and under that, you will create a folder with your asset bundle name. So in this particular case, copy, and I'll tab to get to my TaleSpire. So in the TaleSpire game directory, there is a TaleSpire custom data. This folder does not exist. It's not part of the normal core game. This is a folder where most plugins, or at least Lord Ash's plugins, put in additional stuff for the game. That way you can very easily delete everything just by deleting that folder. So the custom data is then subdivided into various subfolders. We're interested in the minis. Okay. As you can see, I've already got some minis here. So we're going to create a folder, and it's got to be named the same as the asset bundle name, which has to be the same as the prefab name. And now I paste the asset bundle there. And now it's ready to be used with the custom mini plugin with TaleSpire. Please note that unlike the OBJ-MTL import, which you can change on the fly while TaleSpire is running, and if you retransform the mini, you will get updates. This does not work the same with asset bundles. Once an asset bundle is loaded by the custom mini plugin, it will remember that, and if you try to transform a new mini, even if you have changed the asset bundle file, it won't reflect that because the asset bundle has already been loaded. In order for it to reflect any changes, if you swapped out your asset bundle, you will need to stop TaleSpire and restart TaleSpire. That's not the case with OBJ-MTL files. Those ones are not stored in memory. So if you change those on the fly while TaleSpire is running and then transform, you will see any changes. Okay, so let's give our asset a try. Here we have R2ModMan for starting a modded TaleSpire. Make sure that your custom mini plugin has been enabled, has been downloaded and enabled. Otherwise, you're not going to get to be able to load your new asset. This will also enable some other dependency plugins like the stat messaging. And make sure that you have the latest version of custom mini plugin. Currently, that is 4.3, which supports the mini animation. So I'm going to start my modded TaleSpire. Okay, I'm going to start new campaign. Okay, I'm going to bring in any mini to transform. Doesn't really matter. Okay, since we're doing a mini transformation, it's Control M as the default, and our asset was named Arissa. And there's Arissa. Looks like she's a little shiny, but the asset is there. Probably that third texture file was supposed to be for something else. But as you can see, her initial animation played, which was the kind of the ready stance, and then when she finished the ready stance, she remained in the last frame of that ready stance, which makes it interesting. An interesting pose as opposed to a boring T-pose. So now that we have the asset in, because we created those animations named 1, 2, 3, and 4, we can access those with keyboard shortcuts. So there's our kind of ready stance. There's our attack. There's our casting of a spell. And there's our death. Okay. As you can see, we did the clamp forever, for example. So the character remains dead. You can move it around, and when we want to get out of that, we can just play our ready animation, and it's going to go back to that. Now, if we want to play some animations which were not linked to the 5 animation hotkeys, for example, our T-pose, we can use the Control P by default, which is play animation. That hotkey can be changed in R2 Modman, and we can type in the name of the animation that we want to play, and when we do, that animation is played. So I can do the same thing. I can play the other animations that way too. Yeah, so just by naming them anim 1 through 5, you can access those faster than having to open up the play dialog and typing in the asset if you want. And that's about it.